Quinn, given you guys' pace and Indiana's pace, how do you handle that from a defensive standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, you have to not just get back, you have to sprint back. And anticipate whether it's, I think maybe one of the biggest things is just understanding that even if you score, that the ball is going to be coming up the court quickly. And you have to be alert, because oftentimes even when you're back, they'll throw full court passes, excellent passing team, and those guys run because they know, they're going to get the ball, whether it's McConnell or Halliburton or really anybody, but those guys in particular are great at throwing the ball ahead.
Quinn, given the level of importance for tonight's game, being an in-season tournament, does it feel more like a more important game in November than maybe last year's game in November?
Yeah, I think your awareness obviously is there, given what you said, given the fact that it's an in-season tournament game, and the ramifications tonight, obviously, for both teams. For us to win and stay alive, so to speak, and for Indiana, to clinch the group. So, you'd like to think you don't need extra incentive, but I think, in the situations, it's, we're playing for something, and that is extra incentive. So, be a good opportunity for us under those circumstances to come out and really compete.
Given Indiana's pace of play, how does the 3 previous days of rest sort of factor into your preparation? Was it a different sort of approach to the practices or anything?
No, I think practices, at this time of year, it's really early. You're not necessarily going to prepare 3 days before for a specific team. Obviously, that starts getting built in, specifically this morning. And it's something, for us, it works out well because we've got to be better in transition defense. So now we're even more incentivized. So, I say that somewhat in jest, but I think there's a realization that that's an area we just need to be quicker mentally going from possession to possession. And they certainly put a lot of pressure on you to do that.
When you talked a bunch about the transition offense, but as far as Indiana's half-court offense, less play calling maybe than we're used to from Rick Carlisle coach teams. When they play with this random kind of style, how much more difficult is that to guard?
Yeah, anytime there's variety, variability, unpredictability, it doesn't, it's a different type of scout. You're not walking through a specific play. It's more tendencies and personnel. I think the way that they move the ball, is unique. They've got a lot of guys that embrace that, and obviously Rick, is one of the best coaches in the league, and it shows his. I think he's someone that's obviously incredibly intelligent, and is looking for ways to adapt, and also adapt to their personnel. And I think that's just another example of why he's so good at what he does.
Quinn, there's a scenario in the fourth quarter where if you're ahead, that point differential could really matter for the tournament. How much would that impact your kind of fourth quarter decision making, leaving starters and things like that?
Yeah, I think it's, you mentioned this, we've kind of flirted with it in a couple games. We had a similar situation in Detroit where it didn't completely play out, but it was, a couple of possessions either way. Obviously you have to win the game to stay alive. If there's an opportunity, to impact the point differential, I think obviously it's something that you want to look at and think about. It's just really a question of, how much do you weight that relative? I see that being more of an issue, like do you hold for the last shot or things like that. And I don't know how that's played out around the league yet. But I do think you'll see it obviously as we go further in the tournament, and you have singular games where a team's got to win by X number of points, and how the strategy plays out in that.
Nick Nurse the other night said that he was surprised how much his players were kind of into this tournament when it was announced in the summertime, and now that it's here, he was kind of surprised. What's your experience been?
Yeah, I think players like to compete, and it is an opportunity, you know, to focus more specifically on the tournament. That's what a tournament does early in the season. You know, so I think I haven't been as surprised by it, but it's been interesting to note it, so to speak, and to see it evolve.
What has Mike Bray meant to the coaching staff, and how have you benefited from his influence and experience?
Well, he's someone, you know, that I've known and respected for a long time, and have, you know, stayed in touch with, you know, over the years, and more than just followed his teams at Notre Dame. You know, we've stayed connected, and you know, it's tough to find time to talk, especially if you're in college and the NBA. It doesn't always line up. But I think there's a lot of things that he brings. You know, from a basketball standpoint, you know, you don't coach for that long with having a level of, you know, expertise, you know, tactically and strategically from an X and O standpoint. For me personally, I think he's someone that has a perspective, has a great feel for the game and feel for players, and someone that perspective I think is important for me as a head coach. Someone that, you know, that can help you stay the course, not become too high or too low, and he's got a great sense of humor.
Thank you.
Okay.